Hello, chart watchers, and welcome to our premiere this Wednesday, July 3rd, of Chartwise Women with your hosts, Erin Swendlin and Mary Ellen McGonigal. So glad you're joining us for our premiere of Chartwise Women, and we do hope that we will see you back every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But let's go ahead and get right into this, Mary Ellen. I'm so excited that we're here to do this show together.
It really is truly exciting. And I think what we're going to be capturing over these next upcoming weeks is going to be really enlightening for a lot of people. Our focus is going to be on, we'll get into what our focus is going to be, but we're inviting everyone to join us so that we can spread our wisdom.
Yes, we're going to spread our wisdom across the world. Get everybody to come watch. But let's go ahead. I want to talk a little bit about our mission and what we're going to do as far as this show is concerned. And we came up with, offline together, 3 E's. And of course, I love E's because Erin starts with an E. But these are the 3 things we really want to capture for our show. And that is engagement. Of course, we want to be interesting, fun to listen to. We really want to educate. And most of all, and really to me, the most important one is empowerment. And you usually hear that, that characteristic thrown around for women, having to empower women. But you know what? I think our show is really set up so that we can empower everybody as investors, from those beginners to those who, are pretty technically savvy. But the main thing is for people to understand, and I think especially women, that you can do this. And honestly, everybody should be doing this, which is being involved in your own investments.
Right. And I think that empowerment is going to come with education, because educating yourself is the best path toward empowerment. So,
So we have to build your confidence, and that's what we're going to be here for. So very excited to get started on it. But you know what? Before we start, I think we should go ahead and look at this agenda. We're going to be talking to you every week. We'll give you our wisdom of the week. And today's topic is going to be about volume. And you can see our little wisdom of the week, but we'll get more into that shortly. We want to talk about the traits of women investors, typically. And we'll kind of discuss what's similar or not similar to the way we trade. And then what's cooking from data farm to table. And today we're going to concentrate on some of the consumer staples. And then finally, we're going to end our shows with, that happened. So I'm not going to give anything away as to what today's thing that happened. I don't think we need to do that. It's going to be very funny, though. So stick around for that at the end of the show. But I'm going to go ahead and share first. Just let's take a peek at what happened in the market today. Just some interesting facts, I guess, that you can say. And I was already annotating it because it did go final. And, really, it was another great day. We set some new all-time highs. So, obviously great. This is what's concerning me right now, though, Mary Ellen, is we've got this VIX, and it's gotten very low. We're actually getting readings now. Today was around 12 and a half. Very complacent investors.
Yeah, that is. And I think that's evident of the holiday week as well. We're not getting a lot in the way of volume overall. And it is concerning, certainly because of what we're going into on Friday with the ever important employment number. So I agree, that is a bit unnerving.
Because typically, and this isn't necessarily a forever thing, but really when I look at these climactic charts, I'm looking to just see what might happen, from one day to the next day, the next 2 days. I think the VIX is great for those really short-term indications or flags as to what we need to look for. So seeing 3 penetrations of my upper Bollinger Band on my inverted scale here, that's very overbought. That tells me that I definitely want to be careful going into next week, because I think you're right. Friday's going to probably be kind of a throwaway day as far as volume.
And actually we can go back last summer and we will see those low registered levels in the VIX back in last July. It got down to 11.5, and in August it got down to 10.
Wow.
So could be that summer malaise.
Yeah, maybe so. Was there anything in the market that you found particularly interesting today?
Yeah, so what I did is, given that we did not get a lot of volume in the broader markets, I ran a screen to see. You can do this on StockCharts.com, and it will reveal to you those areas, those stocks, even in this case, REITs that were up on volume. That's going to capture my interest, and that's going to key into what we're going to discuss later as well. This first one we're looking at is RWR, and this is the REIT ETF. We can see they really got decimated over the last 8 or so trading days, but over these last 2 days, we're seeing a nice pickup in REITs. So that would be of interest, certainly, to keep an eye on. A lot of those really high quality names pulled back, so it could very well be an opportunity to get back into this potential downtrend reversal. Another big ETF that was up on volume that can give you some areas to search for potential candidates. This is IGV. It's the technology software ETF. And take a look. It's had a wonderful week, gapping up here, big volume pretty much every day, but it's up another 1%. And this area has been the strongest year to date. It waffled here in May, didn't do a whole lot into June, but July is shaping up to be really quite powerful for that one. And then one last area that we can go ahead and take a look at that had a big day. A lot of times these ETFs can be really powerful as far as pointing you toward potential moves within the group. And from there, of course, you can use stock charts to go ahead and drill down and find candidates. This one is the Ultra Financial. The ticker is EYG. This is going to move in tandem with financials, which are having a wonderful week. But because it's Ultra, it's going to give you that little extra oomph. But it is pointing you toward some of those financial stocks. So those are items of interest to give you guys some, for those of you that want to do some research tomorrow before you head out to the beach. Those are some good areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talk a lot about sector rotation on Market Watchers, you and I both.
Mm-hmm.
And, these are the important things to pay attention to. If you're starting to see REITs or you're starting to see those consumer staples, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, when you start seeing them start leading the market, that's defensive positioning by a lot of people. And so you really need to pay attention. People are jumping into toothpaste. That means that, they know people always need toothpaste. So that's the way I would work that. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and move into our wisdom of the week. And we both talked about it a little bit before the program. And my wisdom of the week is that price follows volume. And granted, it doesn't always happen that way, but that is my wisdom of the week. And I'll explain that a little bit later. And for you, Mary Ellen?
Yes. Are we?
Yes, so volume is a predictor. That's your...
Absolutely. I apologize. Volume is very, very critical, certainly to my work and many investors, because oftentimes that volume is telling you that institutions are in buying that particular stock, that area of the markets. This is viewed as smart money. Oftentimes these guys are on their feet are on the ground. They've done the work. So when I see certain technical action on volume, that's going to give me the conviction to go ahead and act on that particular stock. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it a little bit more as far as price following volume. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm pulling up the chart of Apple, and I will give you that. All right. And, one of the things with Apple, I think it really shows you as far as the volume and the OBV in particular, how it can give you some really great cues as to what is going on, maybe before you really realize it. And, for really in this example, I think there are a couple of good spots, and I'm going to hit the sweet spot, I would say, on some of these. So I'm going to annotate here a little bit. Here is rising bottoms. Let's make it red and let's make it thick so we can all see it. All right, so you have rising bottoms on the OBV. Now the OBV is a really simple indicator. If it's a down day, you subtract all of the volume from the indicator. And if it's an up day, you add all the volume of the day. So it's really an easy one for me, at least, to visualize. So that's one of the reasons I do use the OBV. But notice here, back in December, Apple was already giving you a sign with the volume that things were changing. We had a decline in price bottoms, and yet we were seeing indicators rising. The volume was getting interesting. So that's why you want to follow it. Right now, in this case, price isn't totally following the volume, and that is what should alert you. If it's not following it, in that a lot of times we'll talk reverse divergences, and that would be your indication that, okay, something under the surface is going on, and it should be your predictor, so to speak. So you were talking about volume being a predictor. So I'm going to let you kind of explain a little bit what you mean by that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share with you some examples here. Let's go ahead and take a look, because oftentimes people don't really pay a lot of attention to their volume. So let me go ahead and play this. We can take a quick look here at volume characteristics and 5 things that volume can really indicate for you. And the first I talked about, institutions are involved. The stock very well could be beginning an uptrend. So when you see that occur on volume, by all means pay attention. Also, likewise, if a stock is breaking down on that volume, and it is going to provide you with confirmation of that move. It is a critical component. So for those of you that may not already be screening for up or down on volume, that is a preset screen on StockCharts.com, and definitely well worth your efforts, because
Hey, Mary Ellen, let's get your screen up there.
Oh, that would be helpful, wouldn't it? So sorry. Okay. Let's go ahead back over, and we can go ahead.
Volume is very important, and I think most people pay attention to it, but I don't know that they know why.
So I think right. So there is a relevance there. Hopefully you can see my screen here,
yes,
but what
absolutely.
I did want to share with you were some examples here of prior moves. And so what we're looking at here is a daily price chart of E-Trade Financial. It's taking us back to September of 2018, but the relevance is here in the sense that if you pay attention to these high volume days, it really is going to be quite instructive, because I'm taking you here to a year ago in June. We can see this stock, the price broke below key support, these simple moving averages. It did so on very big volume, and we can see the significant decline subsequent to that. And quite the opposite back here in April, the stock broke up above these key simple moving averages, again paying attention to this volume, because that's telling you institutions are coming in. The stock very well is poised to trade higher. Another example here is a smaller stock. This is LifeVantage. Again, this is last year, exactly July 4th week of all things. And take a look at this big pickup here in the volume as the stock began to reverse this downtrend. Very telling. This, I actually got into this stock because of that up on volume screening I was running, and it broke up above key support on volume. So again, very, very powerful screen. We're looking here at Align Technologies, ALGN. Again, very significant when you can see these higher volume days, the stock breaks above these key simple moving averages. And then you have your other technical indicators in conjunction with that, the RSI trending upward, your moving average, convergence, divergence, your MACD. So when we can marry those positive technical signals with higher up on volume days, that really is going to be something that you can have confidence in. We're looking at a daily price chart. This example here is a ETF. It's the Brazil EWZ, and your higher volume red bars are indicating distribution. This is selling that is coming in, and we can see it's in conjunction with it breaking down below these simple moving averages. So hopefully giving you a really good sense of really how important it is to pay attention to these volume characteristics when you are looking to identify stocks. This is Facebook. I'm taking us back to their big drop last August. And you can see, take a look at this huge volume. You'd be hard pressed to find a bigger volume day. And really, quite simply, you can eyeball it and just see these higher volume red bars are telling you that the stock is still under distribution. This is something that you would not want to participate in. We've had these downtrend reversals, but quite simply, your higher volume is on those down days. So until you get that reversal, similar to this action here, when it was reversing this downtrend, your higher volume was on those up days. So that is telling you the stock is under accumulation. So yeah, we're going to leave it at that, and we will be right back.
All right, we are back. And one of the things we want to do in all of our shows is sort of contrast or give you statistics or just things that we've read about the differences between women and male investors, because there are a couple of differences. And so we thought we'd start off, there's 4 of them that we had been reading about. And the first one, and I want to get your opinion on each of these, Mary Ellen, but the first one is that women tend to plan with purpose. They think holistically. They think in terms of not just my retirement, but they a lot of times want to, think in terms of that big trip that they want to save for. They don't just look also at performance. They tend to be more long-term, and we tend to be a little bit more conservative with our investments, tending to do the buy and hold versus the really short-term investing. And I do find myself to be kind of on that page of, I am a little bit more conservative. If you watch Market Watchers live in the morning at noon p.m. Eastern on StockCharts TV, it's pretty clear between Tom and I. He's a much more short-term investor, whereas I tend to focus more on the intermediate term. And I think that could be there.
You actually bring up a very good point, because women are more conservative. I, on the other hand, am very aggressive. That's how I've been schooled in the markets. I'm looking for these big winners. And a lot of that reasoning as far as why women are conservative is a lack of financial literacy. Fidelity has done, a number of bigger firms have done a lot of research, and women unfortunately are not as engaged and they are not as informed. So hence they are naturally going to gravitate toward a more conservative view. It's not a bad thing, but studies have shown a little bit of aggressiveness in there can go a very long way. So as we educate, we can bring people up to speed.
Okay, so kind of in that vein, typically women take on less risk, like you were saying. They tend to be a little bit more conservative. And, as it says right here, fewer women have savings fully invested. A lot of times, in equities, a lot of times they are taking kind of that less risk, bonds, those types of things. I have to say for myself, I'm not risk averse. So I have to say on this regard, as far as women's traits, I am comfortable taking on some risk.
Okay, and then this next item that we have is practice patience, and that is where women are a bit more patient than their male counterparts when it comes to the markets. They are less likely to trade actively, and you can see that they make an average of men make an average of 55% more trades than their female counterparts. And a lot of times that overactive trading can not be the best thing unless you are very, very informed investor, but there is a big difference there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say too, with that last one, the problem is it reminds me of my fantasy football team. You don't want to tinker too much.
Mm-hmm.
You start tinkering, that's where you can get into trouble.
Interesting.
But,
okay.
Education, like you said, that's where you build your confidence.
That's right. And so we are seeing an increase with women reaching out and getting informed, and that is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, and we call it What's Cooking? Farm Data to Table. So we look for certain areas of the market that might be interesting or might be making moves. And today we found some interesting topics with consumer staples, right?
Yeah, consumer staple stocks are having a really good, week, but even a good day. And if you go back over the last 4 weeks, they were in the bottom as far as performance, but we are seeing a pickup. So we wanted to bring that to you. And we're going to be covering some individual stocks among those staples. And we talked about it being defensive, but a lot of it is a yield grab as well, as we see the 10-year Treasury continue to drop to levels not seen in quite some time. So, yeah.
Yeah. So here's some of the ones we were looking at. And yes, some of these are actually in that consumer discretionary area as well. But we wanted to center around food. I'm hungry. I'm hungry for a really great trade here. So What do we think? Let's go ahead and look at Denny's first. And, technically I'm seeing that breakout. And of course, momentum is shifting the right way. And you've got that OBV. We just talked about volume, seeing those rising bottoms and price following along, following volume, price following volume. That's something good. You want to see that confirmation.
That's right. It does look technically very sound. Denny's has been in an uptrend for quite some time now, and the company has been revamping their menu. They've actually increased pricing, and they do have a number of factors that are really helping to maintain this uptrend. And we can see that the stock, for those of you that follow earnings estimates for 2020, analysts are revising estimates higher. They're calling for a 16% growth. And this year it is negative. So it is a bit of a turnaround story, but the story looks very good. The stock is poised to break out of a 2-week base. So it looks quite constructive.
Yes. All right. The next one I know we wanted to look at, this is from the staples, is General Mills. And, it's really a lot of the consumer staple stocks have been really in a nice uptrend since those December lows. And I think that's one reason a lot of people have worried a bit about the market because, like I said, defensive area. But look at this one, another breakout. The PMO, the momentum indicator here, we've got a buy signal right now. And again, look at volume following along. That's quite some accumulation.
Yeah, and if we go back and take a look at those gaps down, that one in late May, that was all about Goldman Sachs downgraded the stock. It hit the entire group. It recovered beautifully from that. And then that next drop was in line with most consumer staple stocks, but that is the day that General Mills came out with their earnings. The numbers were good. We can see that General Mills has now regained. They are poised to break out. This is another kind of a turnaround story. They've sold off a lot of their underperforming brands, and they are adding to their more popular brands. And the street likes it. It's a 3.6% yielder.
Yes, nice. You can find this on our StockCharts charts. All you have to do is click on that full quote right there, and that'll give you all of this information. I've started putting them in just because I like to see right away what sector and industry they're in. Starbucks, where's Tom when you need him? I know he keeps them in business.
Yeah, this is another great, powerful stock hitting another new high. Their big growth story is all about China. They are entering that field. It's still new to them, but the growth prospects are phenomenal. Management is so excited about this. If you go to China, the Chinese on average at this time, only drink about 4 cups of coffee a year.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're all
No
about
idea.
they're all about the tea, but that is changing, and you can imagine the growth prospects, even if they went from 4 cups to 8 cups.
Right.
Yeah, so that's their big growth story, and the stock is, of course, a bit extended here. I'll let you speak to that, Erin.
Yeah, I was going to say we were looking at that RSI, and it is in that what we call that overbought area, which is why it shades in there so that you can see that. That means the RSI is telling you where price is in relation to its price over the past 14 days, and that tells you whether this is extended or not. But I have a PMO that still has plenty of room to go. There's no reason why it couldn't persist in that high range of overbought. So I don't see any problems with that in this case, especially when you have a scooter. My goodness, Starbucks, our StockCharts technical rank is showing some really great movement here. We ended up in what I call the hot zone. When you compare Starbucks to all of the large cap stocks, it's one of the leaders. If you want to learn more about the scooter, as we call it, do go to Chart School and check it out, because that relative strength is great to be able to just see on the chart right away. So I like Starbucks too. Let's see. Let's look at Shake Shack. This is one that I know is a big time favorite of our producers. We always talk about Shake Shack as a candidate, and no wonder why. Look at this nice upward swing.
Yeah, they've really come through with the numbers. For them, it's all about locations. They're expanding their presence as they build out their existence as far as where they're located. And they're also maybe getting into the chicken nugget world, but they are renowned for their famously fresh burgers, and the popularity, as you can see, is really in place. The stock is breaking out of a longer term base and looking quite attractive.
Yeah, again, I've got a PMO that really is stretched out, but we've seen it do the same before. Still room to run. Momentum looks great. All right, let's go ahead, and we're going to get ready to wrap this up. But what we like to call, and what we're going to do every week, is, yeah, that happened. So I have a great story that you actually came up with, and I'm going to show everybody. It was on delish.com. But yeah, this happened. Taco Bell actually has a pop-up hotel, and in 2 minutes, they sold out all of their reservations. And you can see that pretty much we're looking at total theme for the hotel in Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
It really exceeded their expectations. Now, there only were about 80 hotel rooms, and it is for a weekend in the desert. So it's going to be in August. I suggested that a lot of the people maybe are from colder climates. They don't know how darn hot it gets in the desert, but it's a really fun concept, and it's been a real boost to the company as far as PR, because to sell out that quickly is just amazing.
Yep. All right, well, we'll wrap it up, though. Here's quickly a picture of Yum Brands. They are part of the Taco Bell, or Taco Bell is part of them. I think the chart looks great. We have a bullish ascending triangle. PMO is on a sell signal and overextended, so that could be worrisome, but you can see the same thing happened here. We didn't really lose that much. We still kind of stayed in a trading zone, so I'm not going to get too worried about that one just yet. All right, let's wrap this up. Oh my gosh, we did it.
It went
first show.
It went way too fast.
And I suspect it will every single week. So remember, guys, Wednesdays at 1:30 p.m. I do want to thank you so very much for being with us today. It was great to have you here for our first premiere. And Mary Ellen and I have been so excited to do this, and I can't believe we're here and we finally got this going. So have a great holiday, everyone. I know we've got July 4th coming up, and stay tuned on Friday. Decision Point will be airing at 1:30, and of course, Market Watchers Live. Mary Ellen and I.
That's right.
Next Friday, but I think this Friday it is you and Tom.
And see you next week.